up, get out right out of your bed, that's your quicksand. Getting rid anxiety and head, you can fix it. Rid of stigmas, all of them you said, we ain't listening. Just remember, try to do your best, you can win this. Maurice Benard, State of Mind.
All right, my name is Maurice Benard, and this is State of Mind Sunday. If you like what you see, hit the button, because, you know, we're climbing. And I appreciate everything that you guys do for the show. You guys, you know, I just had a conversation. I'm not going to get into with who or with what about the show. We're working with, when I say I don't like to say I because I have a bit of a team, but we're working with someone now who's very excited about the show and may take it to places that I couldn't take it to. And we're very excited. So it's all up to you guys, because you guys have been following and supporting from day one. Been doing this now over 350 interviews. And it's what makes me proud. It really does. So today I have somebody again, because, and it's not because how much I dig her and she's my friend. It's because you guys keep wanting her back. And I'm not just, I all the time in the comments, bring Sarah back. Oh, I just said her name. Don't act like you don't know. Act like you don't know. But she's literally, and I might have said it last time, I'll say it again, one of the best actresses I've ever worked with. And I don't mean that lightly, because I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. And one of the best, and young. I mean, it's amazing. I was like, what's this person? Anyway, her name is Sarah Brown. Hi.
What an introduction. Man, thank you so much, Maurice. You're so kind to me. I really appreciate that.
You know, you deserve it.
Thank
when
you.
You deserve it, I give it to you.
I'm not really young anymore, unfortunately, but
you look great, though.
Thank you. Oh,
damn.
Thank you.
Let's talk about like GH. Like
back in the day, GH, or more recent Claudia's GH, or
no,
which?
No, but my shit
back in the day.
Because I don't really.
We did stuff together with Claudia. We got married.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been married as two different incarnations of.
You know,
Sonny and Claudia, and Carly and Claudia, Carly and Sonny and Claudia. Our little threesome there that we had going on. Oh, it was wild. I loved GH back in the day when I was Carly. That was, for me, heyday General Hospital.
Yes.
You know, I know there's a real heyday before that. That was before I ever came. But for me, that was my heyday with General Hospital. That was the time that I felt the most excited to go to work, and just, I was new, and everything was fresh, and you had no idea what was coming next. I loved working with you. You
great.
Changed my life. You know, as a young person, you changed my life by noticing me. And when I wanted to work with you, being game and coming with everything, showing up with everything you had. And it changed my life, Maurice. I mean, the whole trajectory of my life was changed by the fact that because I was having fun. I was working with a lot of other actors, but nothing was like what we had with, obviously, Carly and Sonny are still going strong.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that, which is that the foundation was laid for this incredible super couple that, and I don't mean that you guys are still together as a couple, because I don't actually know if that's true.
No, we're not.
Okay. But you have many children together.
I got children. I got many wives.
Yeah, many. Okay.
But
many wives.
You know, that's an easy thing for me. I mean, I saw this young actress who was like unreal. So I'm like, let's do this. And we took it seriously.
We did, yeah.
When we betrayed Sonny, we took it seriously.
Do you know, I went back and watched, I want to say 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I went back and I watched what happened between Carly and Jason and AJ, how I ended up with Sonny in the first place, what I did to Jason to get with Sonny, and how I betrayed him. I was like, oh God, Carly, you terrible, terrible human being. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Then watching all this stuff on Martinique that we did, which I loved, that when we went
Yeah,
to the
we
island, I
got
don't know if you
married.
can even remember, but before we got married, we went to this island and we bonded and we had this incredible time together. And then we came back to the city, Port Charles, and you basically said, okay, that's it. You're out of here. Or, you know, none of that stuff is ever happening again. And I was so hurt. The character was so just crazed and hurt. And that led to, I don't know, the whole thing with AJ. I mean, the story was complex, but it was so well told, and I felt so incredibly well supported with the cast of actors that I was working
Wow.
with you and with Steve, and even Nancy Legrand, who was brilliant, and Across
Yes.
the Penthouse. Do you remember? And
Yeah.
Jason moved in
Yeah.
across the penthouse, and this was during that time where Steve left to do a big movie, which he
Yeah.
talked about in his State of Mind. I think he did the Spielberg movie with Gandolfini,
yeah,
The Last Castle,
The
or
Last
something
Castle.
like that.
Yeah.
And so he left, and people are always so angry about, and I get a lot of flack and beef for why did Carly do that to Jason? Why did she leave Jason? I'm like, well, guys, it's a story. And in order for the story to work, you know, the actors have to make huge choices
Yeah.
in their work, which comes across, I guess, as betrayal a lot of times,
Yeah.
because that's what the writers are putting out there for us.
Yeah.
So they're looking at us and going, oh, she's betraying him. And I'm like, no, I'm just literally giving it some spice. They made me betray him. It's in the writing right here. And I'm just making it spicy, you know, with my personality.
How you would save that stories like that and be, because your character was so, you know, kind of
Oof.
bad, is you would bring pain and humor. And when you bring pain and humor, you can get away with anything.
You sure can
And
get
that's
away
the
with a
problem
lot.
with a lot of actors and
Yes.
actresses.
Yes.
They don't do it that way.
Yes. The
And then they,
self-deprecating humor. Yes.
you did it,
That's
you
it.
know, it was kind of charming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so sorry. What did I do? Like I dumped you in a laundry cart and set you up. Never mind. I was going to say something horrible, but I'm not going to. But, you know, drugged you and put you in a laundry cart. And I did some horrible things as Carly. I don't know what Carly's been up to since I left, but I know that I have a track record as Carly, and it's followed me around. People sometimes would get angry with me as Sarah and call me Carly and ask me questions like, why would you do that to Jason? Why? And very serious, you know,
Damn.
they get really into their soap operas, and you have to tell them, hey, it's not me. I didn't write it. I'm just telling the story the way that I was taught to tell the story. And in acting school, I think, because I went to the Los Angeles County High School for the Performing Arts, and then I went to Alexander Hamilton Academy of Music. And at LACSA, you know, our teachers are teaching neoclassic tragedy, you know, Greek stuff and Shakespeare. And so then you go from that and you bring it into a soap opera, and it's not dissimilar.
No.
It really isn't. The plot lines kind of follow along a lot of the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, oh, this is King Lear.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of is. So in order to do that stuff really good, you have to bring humor and you have to bring pain. So it's the same. The process is the same, right? It's
Yeah.
just a different medium. And I think what I didn't understand as a youngster when I first started GH, and why I got off to a little bit of a rocky start, is that it doesn't matter what genre you're working in. The truth is the truth, right?
Yes.
So for actors out there who are watching you and looking for different pointers. By the way, just to go off topic for a second, did you know that the professor at Rutgers University was showing his class the Sonny and Carly scenes? His acting
Really?
class? Yeah. He would show them our scenes and break them down and say, hey, this is good acting and this is why, and so forth. So really,
Wow.
I was so flattered to hear that, and also thought that was very cool. And I have several friends who were in those classes.
Wow, that's cool.
So yeah. Anyway, I think when I was really young and I first started, before we started working together, I didn't understand. And a lot of people don't. In daytime, you think that over the top is going to be the way that it's done,
Right.
because you hear about daytime being sort of,
Right.
it's just because it's almost live. You know, it's
Yeah.
not that people want to do melodrama and over dramatize everything. The fact is, you know, you have to do another script every single day. And sometimes you're shooting 2 and 3 scripts a day, right?
Yes.
So I think in that situation, because you have so little time with the dialogue and the lines, you're improvising a lot of it and it's
Yeah.
coming out on the fly. And when people do that, you tend to overdo it a little bit because it's the easiest way to remember all your lines is just to say it and rather than the refinement that comes with working on a movie when you have 3 months to
We got a
do,
lot of time.
just
Yeah.
a couple of scenes. So daytime gets a bad rap, first of all. I think that I didn't know the difference and I didn't know any better. When I first started with Carly, I would do that a little bit. I would look off and do the weird looks.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, when I finally saw it on TV, I told myself, you cut that out right now. That is not okay. What are you doing? What is that? And so the benefit of daytime is that it turns around really quick. So you can see it on TV right
That's
away
right.
and you can see what you're doing wrong. And I was young. I mean, I was 21. I think I was 20 when I started GH or when I got the job. I was 21. I take it back. So I was 21. I got it on my 21st birthday. And so I was so young that I didn't have, the previous show that I had done was VR Troopers. I mean, although we did 92 episodes in a year and a half, it was a kid's show.
Yeah.
So again, not having a lot of time with the material or a lot of time to film. So kind of like guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah.
But I got put in the fire, if you will, with the best of daytime. GH is known for having the best
Yeah.
actors. And here I've got you and Stuart Damon. I mean, Damon,
And
John
Tony Geary.
Ingle and Tony Geary. And I didn't get to work with Jeannie very often, but when I
Right.
did, because she wasn't there for a while, just wow. And Jane Elliott and Nancy Legrand and so many actors that to this day, if they're doing anything, I'm going to watch because they're fantastic. They go so far above and beyond the genre
Right.
and they kind of create the mold, if you will, and then break it.
Yeah. That whole turnaround thing of being able to watch it in 2 weeks. This is what I used to do. I'm going to tell a story that I don't think I've ever told.
Yeah.
I was working with someone.
Okay.
And I used to be, not anymore because I'm doing this too long. But I needed things to work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to fail. But that was eventually got me because there was too much pressure. Okay. So I was working with this person, it wasn't really working. So I was, at that time, not anymore, or maybe, you were able to do a scene, come downstairs in my room and watch it. So I did a scene with someone, went in my room, and I saw it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I called the person in.
That's terrible, first of all.
But I'm trying to make this work, and I'm crazy like that. Okay.
Yes.
So this is going to be, these people are going to say, see, Maurice is a control freak, which I might be a little bit, but it's all about the work with me. It's never about anything else.
Right.
So I said, so-and-so, her name almost came out. I said, listen, how'd you feel about that scene we just did? Oh, she felt great. I said, look at this moment and tell me what you think. And she watches, she goes, no, I said, no. You can't play it like that.
Oh.
You have to see the person that you're with as the white knight.
Yeah.
That's what makes you do it.
Yeah.
I do it to, if you want it to work, right? If you don't, you just play it like nothing.
Right.
And I said, let me show you the thing again. And I showed it to her. She goes, oh my God.
Yeah.
I said, that's what you got to keep doing.
I see.
Otherwise, it's just going to be
stale.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being able to, it's almost like a daily, right?
Yeah. Did you record it?
Yeah.
Is that you had a VCR?
Yeah,
I'm guessing this is back in the day and you just was recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can go right
and you
up.
can go back and fix
Another
it.
thing I did.
Yeah. You called John Homa and you were like, talk to this woman. Please, John. Get her.
My big thing is talk louder and shit. Remember I used to like break furniture
lose your
or whatever.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I could literally, it was the best. They told me like 5, I said, you want me to talk louder here? Okay, are you sure now? Okay. I went downstairs, recorded it, and saw that it
Doesn't
you can
work.
hear me.
Right. But here on State of Mind, you're very loud and vocal, and we can hear you very well. It's very different.
It's great.
It's so different.
But I was told that because for years I had to break furniture or whatever I did. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah,
I'm
you were exaggerating because you
But-
weren't that bad. But they also knew not to give you that note because it doesn't work for you.
It doesn't work for me, that note.
And you know what? Actors who are doing really, really good with the material, which is incredibly challenging to turn it around 24 hours every single day, a new episode is tough.
Yeah.
Then to take it and elevate it and make it something that everybody wants to watch all over the country, that's so hard. So if the actor knows, hey, you know, I've seen my work now for a bunch of years and I know that you can hear me, A, and B, this is what works. This is what is good. And sometimes producers and actors or directors and actors don't agree. And I know a lot of times the directors want, you know, it's not their face. It's not their career or their face that's coming out there. It's their directing, how it looks, how it sounds, all of that is really important to them. And to us, it's like, hey, I don't want to overdo it. I'm not known for that.
Yeah.
So don't make me do that. And I totally get it. And it's frustrating sometimes because I think that in the interest of moving quickly, a lot of subtlety can be missed in daytime.
Yeah.
And the producers, depending on who you're working with at that particular time, is, you know, they have so much to do. They've got an entire episode or three to shoot in a day, and they're not keeping track of all the little subtleties that the actors are keeping track of. And we need that subtlety to remain.
Yeah.
So it's just as important for them and their show that we actually push back, I think, and say, hey, you know what? I know my work and that is not my good work. I'm not going to be on my game if you do that to me. So, you know, from both sides, because I've been directing now and I really enjoy directing and I really like to see it from an actor's perspective as well, to hear them.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, look, you know, obviously as actors, great notes make us even better, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
I just, you know, I came from all my children where they gave me that note. Don't put your hand on your face. Don't take too much time. Talk louder. So
yes,
I came to GH saying, I'll do the job, but don't ever tell me to talk louder.
Right.
And they kept doing it. So, you know.
But you lost your temper a couple of times. I never saw you break anything. You would get upset, but I also could understand where you were coming from. As your coworker, who knows how much it matters to you and how much you put into it every night, and who also has the same workload. So I know how tough it is. You know, everybody has a life, and we live outside of just the words on the page.
Yeah, but Sarah, in the beginning, because my friend at some point said we didn't have enough mics then, enough booms.
Oh, wow.
So I think we only had.
We had two. True? We had two booms when I was there.
Okay, so maybe it's three now because it
changed.
You
have three now. Okay.
I think it changed.
I see.
Because no one's ever given me that note for the last 10 years.
But they know who you are.
Oh, I get it.
You know that you're going to yell, A, and B, that they don't need to give you that note because there's another way to get the sound that they need.
I get it.
That's what's important is that if they have an actor like you, if you were my actor and I was directing, I would mic you. Every time.
Said to them,
it's like, I'll mic you. I'll mic you. Don't hit your mic. But I'll mic you and it'll be better for everybody because I'll be able to hear you and every subtle little thing that you want to do, I can pick it up.
Oh my God. So
GH was amazing. It was so fun back then.
You lost the baby, remember that? Everybody talks about that, Sarah.
I do remember.
What did you draw from? Because you were young.
Because I actually, you know, that happened to me in real life. I don't know if you remember this, but yes, I had hemorrhaged on set. And I was in my dressing room and it, you know, there's a song that has a lyric that's just kills me every time I hear it. But, you know, I ended up hemorrhaging, having a miscarriage on set, not actually on set, but in my dressing room. And you know, and I left in an ambulance. I don't know if you remember that. It was horrible. I don't want to go into the details here, but you know, obviously nobody threw me down a staircase. So that was interesting. The way we did it was cool. Love working with Billy. You know, Billy was such a positive dude. Really such a positive, funny dude. You know, he was I mean, he was really funny and fun and easy to get along with. And the transition was interesting. Suddenly we had Sean, and now we had Billy, and we had Steve, and we had you. There was just all kind of stuff happening in that young, early days of GH, where we had Vanessa and Tyler and Steve and myself and you and Billy, and that kind of storyline that was all developing, with also Lucky and Liz.
Yeah.
Anyway, people who don't know the show obviously have no idea what I'm talking about, but it was fun. It was a heyday. Check it out. It was a
Yeah.
heyday, in its own right. It was a really good time too.
You look good. I gotta
Thank
tell
you.
you. I don't know what you're doing, but dude.
I'm doing all the things, you know what I'm saying? I'm working out with my daughter 4 days a week.
Oh, you're working
Yeah,
out like
4 days a
crazy.
week, always working out. And I'm doing all the things. I eat really healthy. Obviously, I can't eat gluten because I have celiac disease, and I've
Right.
known about that for, since 2006. So we're coming up on almost 20 years here. Yeah. So that's been, I think, good. The good news is, and then I'm, finding that I can't eat a lot of things. And Steve was talking about this on your podcast.
Yeah.
He was saying, and I totally identify, because a couple things, as we get a little bit older, they just don't work for me anymore. And so I'm hoping that with the adjustments in my diet, to help me stay young. I don't know if there's any hope for that. There's probably no hope to ever stay young.
Well,
And I'm
whatever.
not young anymore, so there's that. But
Yeah, but you're eating and you're working out.
yeah, Jordan and I are doing that. That's our thing.
meditating or anything.
No, I've never been into meditating. The best I can do is, I have one of those brains that bops around, and I have a little bit of I don't have ADD, but I have hyperactivity. That's all it is. They've said it was like ADD. It's not. I got tested recently. I have dyslexia. Horrible, horrible, terrible dyslexia. The worst dyslexia. The testing was about 9 hours, and it was just horrific. But they also said what I had been diagnosed with when I was 8 years old, which was hyperactive. And so Jordan and I are working out 4 days a week. And with that, in addition to the way my brain already is, I find it really hard to fall asleep. So the best I can do for meditation is running, which I love, but I have a broken neck, so I don't do a lot of running anymore. I've run my whole life, and now it's just, I had surgery right after I left GH. Remember that death scene for Claudia?
Yeah.
Hitting the ground. I had Scott McKenzie there, and he said, get on your knees and hit the ground. And I was like, Scott, there's a stunt double right there. She wants to do it. She's really excited and dressed. And Scott said, nope, I need to see her face. So I did it again and again and again. And I woke up in the morning, and my eye was sealed shut. I couldn't open it, and I needed neck surgery within 2 weeks. So I did have it. I'd already injured my neck on VR Troopers years before, re-injured it with Scott McKenzie in a different episode with Steve Burton, and I had to do a slap, and I did it, and I got a little weird twist there with the whiplash. So it was an injury I already knew I had, and this stunt was too far. It took it over the edge, and so I ended up having the neck surgery. But I didn't let them put any discs in there, which they want to put in some discs. So that may come up in the future. So I don't run a lot anymore. I find it hard to fall asleep, and the best I can do for meditation, and if this works for anybody, amazing, great. I hope it does. My dad used to tell me to meditate, that you want to take all of the thoughts out of the space between your head, right? So I imagine a box, and I try to take the sides of the box and push them further and further away from each other. And inside that box is no thought. There's no thought in the box. So I'm in there in this little box, and I say, no thought, no thought, no thought. And I try to expand it. Next thing I know, I'm asleep like that. It works every time. It's so fast. And I don't know if it'll work for anyone, but.
All right. So, when you came last time, Sarah, we just had an incredible conversation about soap operas, which I don't know, if people, I'm sure the fans love it. But they don't, it's not that they're saying talk more about soap operas, it's great. They just, it's mental health, state of mind, and then it's great. But I'm sure they love what we talked about, because it was such like history, right?
Yes.
We didn't talk about relationships with you.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to mention any names. You've been through a divorce.
Never married, actually.
Oh, you weren't?
I've never been married, no. I was engaged to Jordan's dad, but he was secretly married. It's like a soap opera. He was secretly still married. So that's true. And I didn't know. I didn't know until she was almost 2. So I've never gotten over it. I don't know. I've never been married. And yeah. Were you going to ask me if I have a boyfriend? I don't.
No,
I'm
no.
single.
It was more the divorce. Since you've never been married, I don't know what
No.
that. It's just how do you how are you in relationships?
I've been told, incredibly affectionate, and that's real.
That's
I'm
cool.
a very touchy-feely kind of person. I'm a very good cook. I'm easygoing. I don't fight. I don't like to fight. I walk away. My dad used to say, "Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right?"
Wow.
And if I love somebody and that is my man, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
Now, if he is cheating on me or doing something outside the boundaries of what's acceptable and normal, then, all bets are off, obviously. But if it's just don't sweat the small stuff. I think that's
Yes.
very important. And my dad used to say, if you treat a man like a king, he can't help but treat you like a queen.
Great.
And I believe that. It doesn't work with every man, and the ones it doesn't work with are not for me. So I've been single for a very long time. We're going to go into part of the reason why. And listen, I'm going to tell you things. I can already feel that it's going to be super hard for me to talk about.
Oh boy. Let's just whatever it is you want to talk about, we can talk about it right now. Or not talk about it. It's up to
No,
you.
I do want to talk about it with you because you know what happened to me? Wow. Something happened in 2016 and it blew up my life. And I really struggled with my mental health as a result of it for years. Horrible isolation. And I'm going to try so hard, guys. I'm not going to cry. I'm not Carly, so I'm trying really hard here to not cry and just to hold it together, because the reason I want to tell this story and the reason I wanted to come on here and tell this story in the first place is because there are a lot of women this is happening to. I actually read an article about the prevalence of knockout drugs in the UK, and it's really high. So it's happening to a lot of people, not just women, and it's really scary. I remember the week that I reported to the NYPD Brooklyn Division Special Victims Unit, which is who I reported this incident to. That week, so after I reported it, I saw the cover of LA Weekly, and the cover of it was literally a glass of wine and a woman falling deep into the glass of wine and bubbles and so forth, like she had passed out. So I was roofied and I was raped. Violently. From what I could tell. I don't have any memory of it.
You drink something and then you're just
No, passed out, yeah. No memory whatsoever. Blacked out. No memory at all. The last thing I remember, I was in Brooklyn and I had gone to Brooklyn. It's a long story. We don't really have time to get into all the details of, but I was anyway in a bar in Brooklyn waiting on a friend to arrive home who lived around the corner. And I spoke to my best friend on the phone. It was about 9:30. And funny enough, I'd never really been to Brooklyn outside of when I was shooting there. I was shooting As the World Turns in Brooklyn for 9 months. And aside from that, I'd never been to Brooklyn. And so, shooting was great, but you got on a subway and you went home. We weren't exploring in Brooklyn at all when we were shooting As the World Turns. Maybe I should have a little. That might have helped him if I had a better understanding of where I actually was and what was, to be more aware of what was happening. But I spoke to my best friend Tammy at 9:30 at night, and And funny thing, I was in the bathroom at the time. She said to me, if you get into any trouble, call me. And I laughed the way I commonly do because I think I'm so tough sometimes. And I said, what trouble am I going to get into in Brooklyn? And I think, Tammy grew up in New York and Connecticut. So, and she's Italian full blood. So she probably knew what kind of trouble I could get into. And I didn't have any idea that if Brooklyn was a state, it'd be one of the largest states in our country. It's huge. It's really a big place. And I didn't know anything about Brooklyn, and I didn't know that, it's very common for people to slip roofies, and they called them Mickeys back in the day, but they call them roofies now because a lot of times people will use a drug called Rohypnol. And so I don't know what exactly got slipped in my drink. I don't remember anything else aside from my best friend saying that to me and me saying, no problem. I'm not going to get into any trouble, laughing it off, and then going out of the bathroom. A man that I had never seen before offered to buy me a drink. I was really ready to go back to my hotel room because I was done waiting for the friend. I was like, he's not showing up. So I was going to go home. And against my better judgment, I said, okay. And this guy bought me a drink. And I remember walking outside of the bar with him to sit outside on the patio. And then I remember one little thing that I said, and I remember him answering back that that person who I brought up was a piece of shit. Excuse me, I don't know. Can we cuss on this?
Yes.
Anyway, he said, no, that guy's a piece of shit. And that's all I remember. I don't remember anything else from the night. And it wasn't him that did it. So the next morning I woke up. Imagine this. You wake up. I'm all of 5'5", and I wake up, I'm fully dressed. I've got my bra on. I have a t-shirt on, although it's not the same bra that I went to bed in, or presumably went to bed in, that I had on that day. And I'm wearing somebody else's pants. They're not mine.
Man.
And I look out at a brick window, like a brick wall out of a window. I'm on somebody's bed and I am panicking. This is, 10 a.m. or something like that. Panicking, just horrified. My head is pounding. I'm a mess. And I get up and I grab my bags, which are, I had gone to this bar with 2 bags with me because I was traveling in Brooklyn. So no, I don't look like a mark. Of course I did, take advantage of me. I'm a dumbass from LA with an LA cap on. So, some things not to do, ladies or men, ever. Anyway, I quickly heard a voice and I turn and I look at, there's a kid sitting there. He's got to be 30 years old at the most and really attractive, very good looking kid. And he said, hold on. You're wearing my girlfriend's pants, or the girl I'm dating's pants, something to that of that nature. And I looked down and sure enough, they were not my pants. And I heard him say girlfriend or my girl's pants. And so I was put at ease. And he looked really kind and normal. And I just was like, okay. I'm wearing pants. He has a girlfriend. She's probably here. And I'm trying to get my bearings about me. You know what? I have no memory, none whatsoever. Don't have any idea how I've gotten to this place, but I'm fully dressed again. So, panic is there, but I don't know what to think. I have a short conversation with this kid. I can tell he's a kid, and kids are not my thing. For me, I don't date anybody who's under the age of 40, period, at all. It's not for me. It's never been, as you know. So long story short, the kid starts to say, you needed help. I asked you because you were crying. He said he saw me talking to this guy that had bought me the drink that I told you about, the bearded guy, and you were sobbing. And I walked over to you and I said, are you okay? And you said, no, I'm not okay. Get me out of here. And bells started ringing. And I'm thinking, this is insane. At that point, I'd been celibate for about 2 years at least, if not more. And I'm thinking, this is insane. I don't know who this kid is, but you can tell when somebody's lying sometimes.
Yeah.
And I felt very strongly, let's just put it that way, that he was lying. So I said, I'm going to go. I'm going to take a cab. And he insisted he get me an Uber. It was a big deal for him. No, let me get you an Uber. And we walk out, we leave. I have my bags. I'm still not sure of anything. What has happened? I'm stumbling. My head is pounding. I'm a disaster. I'm really, really, really hurting. I'm in pain. And we get outside. He calls my phone number that I give him, which is not my real phone, but just another burner phone or something I have with me. And then an Uber shows up. And he called my phone so that I'd have his number, presumably. And I get in the Uber and we leave. Only the Uber pulls over somewhere in the middle of Brooklyn, which is not my hotel, is nowhere near where I told him to take me. And the guy tells me to get out. I'm like, well, this is not my hotel. You know, where are we? I don't know where I am. And I immediately get out and start vomiting into a potted plant, white foam, like I drank soap. And I was shocked, you know, because I had some wine. That's what I had been drinking, was red wine. And I probably had too much red wine, but I had 3 glasses of red wine.
But you have to be thinking you're going to get killed.
Not in any kind of danger at that point, but I was thinking, how did I not get killed? That's the point, is when you wake up somewhere with somebody and you don't know what happened the whole 20, however many hours I was there. I have no idea what happened. None. I don't remember a single thing. And people, when you drink a lot, sometimes you're like, hey, did I put a lampshade on my head and run through the park naked? You have little flashes. There's nothing. It's a complete blank from the point that this guy says such and such is a piece of shit. That's it. That's all I remember. So then I stumbled to a hotel. I find the closest place that I can get to. It happened to be the Hotel Jolie, which is very nice in Brooklyn. And they let me check in early because they could tell that I was in distress. Once I got into the hotel, I did my checks on myself, and he had definitely had sex with me in my back door. And I was hurting. And it was a mess. And I was in shock.
Now, it was the 30-year-old? Or you don't even...
Well, later. So later I got a police report and everything done. And he says first that he didn't have sex with me. He tells the police that he didn't. And then they show him his text messages to me, which are about 5 or 6 text messages. So later, after leaving the hotel, I go to a hospital. I don't go to a hospital, sorry. I go to a private doctor and I have her check me out. We go through the whole thing. And I've got bruising and probably a broken toe and what looks like, broken capillaries around my throat here. And I know, like at this point, I know this kid raped me because it was in the back. So you could feel it. Anyway, it was really a bad time. What do I say?
Yeah.
It was really hard. And then eventually, after many days, I'm making the story short, but after many days in New York and trying to get my bearings, I went to New York in the first place on that trip to see an apartment in Harlem that a friend of mine's daughter, the one who I'd been on the phone with earlier, had. And the daughter was at Columbia and she was going to be gone for the summer to LA. And so I wanted to rent this apartment of hers. And that's what I had gone to New York for in the first place. So I went ahead and I went and looked at the apartment. And then I met with the doctor, and then I flew home after about, it took me about 4 days to get out of the hotel, the first hotel. My head was just a mess. I was a disaster. Let's just put it that way. And then when I got back home to LA, I got a new phone, a different phone. I had a burner phone. I always keep a separate phone and give it to people that I don't want to have my actual phone number.
Right.
And I do recommend that. I think that's a good idea sometimes, promotions and things. So anyway, I got a new phone. And when I did that, for whatever reason, that kid's phone number showed up. That phone call he had called me with showed up, whereas it hadn't on the other phone. The reason it hadn't on the other phone is my phone had been off when he called.
Right.
When I got a new phone, the new phone didn't care that the phone had been off when he called. It showed his phone number, and he left a 1-second message. So with that information, it's now about 8 days after this thing happened. And with that information, I took the phone number and I entered it into my computer and did a sync on the computer and entered his name because I could remember his name. That was it, because he told me the next day. I remembered his name. And within I want to say 2 minutes, he texted me. Within 2 minutes of entering his phone number into my computer and syncing it, he texted me, "Hey, what's up?" And I immediately said, awkward question, but nothing happened, did it? And he said, "Yeah, it did." And I, elaborated, trying to get him to say whatever had happened. And he admitted, that he said, "You were pretty drunk." I mean, if I was drunk, this is like the Stanford situation.
Right.
Women know about that.
Yeah, I do.
But I've never been in this kind of state before, so I really don't believe that that's all it was, especially vomiting white foam. But anyway, we had a short text exchange wherein I verified that he said he used a condom, and that made me feel a little bit better. Meanwhile, I had been tested for everything at the doctor's office, and then armed with that information, I cut that conversation off. I never spoke to him again, and I had to do a bunch of things at the time, and I was just a mess. I mean, you talk about mental health on this show, and I couldn't stop crying. I just couldn't stop crying. This is all before my dad passed away, and thank God I had my dad when this happened, because I just was devastated to have had somebody have their way with my body and have no memories of it whatsoever. And so later, when I actually reported it to the police and I went to the Brooklyn Special Victims Unit, the fiasco that was made out of it was just outrageous. I mean, it was a fiasco. People wonder why women don't report, or why men, for that matter, don't report. The Brooklyn DA's office lost my case. In other words, they could not find it. It was sent to them by the Special Victims Unit, and they didn't know where it was. So that went on for 3 months. After that, the investigating officer had taken my report from LA when I was here. She took it over the phone, and nothing happened. So 3 months later, I called her and I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Oh," she laughed. I'm thinking, wow, the sensitivity here. And she said, "Oh, you've got to come back to Brooklyn and do it in person." So I said, "Okay, let me do that then." And got on a plane at my own expense, flew back to Brooklyn, gave my statement. And at that point, it was sent to the DA, at which point they lost it and didn't, couldn't find it. And then it just gets better. When I finally get a Freedom of Information Act request going, and I look at what the police did, they investigated the wrong date. Not only that, the officers asked this kid, "Did you have sex with this woman?" And he said no. He denied it. Then they showed him his text messages to me. Then suddenly he remembered he had. Then he said yes 3 times. Well, I'm telling you, it was in the back door. So, when you are an investigating officer and somebody comes at you with this, and then they switch their story because you have evidence, that you have, at least there's a case there to really be investigated. And they didn't. They just didn't. She said, "We did everything we could, but there's not enough evidence. You don't remember anything." Well, yeah, there's no evidence because you investigated the wrong date. It didn't happen on the 23rd when you had people, asking about this and that. The owners of the bar, I called, I asked for surveillance footage. They waited until it was deleted to call me back, until it erased itself. So it was a fiasco. It was horrifying. And my mental health tanked. I've never been in a situation like that where I felt so helpless and unable to take care of myself. And what made me want to tell this story most is that I figure if a person like myself, who presumably has a lot of resources and is well known to a lot of people, has financial means, can't get the kind of help necessary in order to, I had some dark days there, really dark.
Yes. And let me tell you something, Sarah.
Like, how is somebody who's homeless going to deal with this? How is somebody who's what if someone's a prostitute? Like, how are they going to deal with being raped and roofied? They're just going to have to walk away.
Yeah.
And it's the most painful thing. It really is.
I saw a show on Netflix about a girl who went to these guys' house and they raped her. And people made fun of her.
Yeah.
I think she ended up committing suicide. Okay.
A lot of women do.
I did a solo on this subject. These guys who were raped, these animals, these motherfuckers, They know it.
Yeah.
That it's easy.
Right.
And they could do what they did to you, what they've done to I don't know how many women.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get away with it because it's your word against theirs.
Plus, I don't remember anything. So my word of nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Especially when you're roofied.
Yeah, that's the problem. But at the same time, there are ways of prosecuting. The guy tripped up several times. He made a lot of mistakes. I read the police reports. The work was really bad. In fact, when I tried to get my records, the person I spoke to, who was their person in charge of the records requests, he literally said to me, "Yes, you can have the records. It's going to cost you $51.50." Do you know what $51.50 is, Maurice?
Isn't $51.50 when you go into the mental institution? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's gotten better?
I mean, I definitely am much, much, much better. I don't think the situation has gotten better for women. I think there should be an easier way to test. I think a lot more women should take it very seriously. There should be an easier way to test, your urine in the morning or something like that. They have these nail polishes that you can stick in your drink, but presumably once you've been roofied, you're out of it. Somebody roofies you, you're not testing your own drink. You got the drink. You saw them get it for you. As far as you know, you're fine. Why would you stick your finger in the wine, I guess, at that point? So I don't know. I think it's gotten better for me. My mental health has definitely improved. It took years. It took years of extreme darkness. And, like I said, I was celibate for a long time. I just couldn't. I'm too much of a control freak, I think, to manage dealing with the fact that somebody had their way with me and I wasn't cognizant or able to stop them. And also that I don't know what they did to me. That's the hardest part. That's one of the hardest things about it, is not having any memory about what he did. For all I know, I won't get into what he could have done, but I will say that I think that, they need to do better. It's really hard if you get raped in another state and then you come back to this state. There's no resources for you because the resources are for people who live in New York State.
Right.
They're not helping me to try to find a lawyer because I'm not from New York. So, and then I'm calling for resources here, but it happened in New York State. So they're confused about that. When I call and say, I need to talk with somebody. Anyway, again, going to try really hard to be strong, because the reason I'm telling this story is I think things need to change. They need to do better.
I just want to say what Sarah just did by opening up about the way she was treated. I just say she was raped. I don't even like saying that word in a sense, only because I don't like to give whoever the rapist any power that they, Anyway, she is going to help like so many women, young girls. There's probably a young girl right now in a bar who hasn't seen this, and some good-looking guy says, can I buy you a drink? Yeah, sure. And then it's a glass, and she doesn't know. That's the thing about this roofie stuff. You can't tell. Can't even tell when you drink it. I asked Sarah that, and you just drink it. And then next thing you know, you wake up somewhere, and there's a guy over there going, "Hey, how you doing?" How scary is that? And this whole she said, he said thing has to change. But I don't know what it is. Why they don't, the police or whoever it is, they don't take it as seriously as it should be. Because I tell you, when I watched that Netflix thing and I listened to Sarah today, my blood boils. That these animals think they can take advantage of young women or at any age. At any age. So I just want to say to Sarah Brown, appreciate what you did. It's a big deal for you and for a lot of people. For me, um,
Appreciate you letting me tell this story. It's really not an easy thing to talk
of
about,
course it's not.
and women need a safe place to do that.
Yes,
So thank you.
thank you.
Because you know what, ladies? You're just not alone. That's all there is to it.
No, you're not. But just please be careful when you go to bars now and somebody wants to buy you a drink. Make sure it's make sure you. Hopefully, it's just a beer. Because they can sip it. They can put it in a beer too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you get through this roofie stuff.
You don't let them buy you a drink. You know, you have to
Okay.
buy your own drinks.
There you
That's
go.
what you got to do. Or you don't drink when you go out. You know, but there are women it's happening to that are ordering sodas. They're getting a soft drink, young women. So, you know, it can taste salty sometimes. That's one thing. Yeah.
Okay. I just wouldn't drink.
Yeah.
Because it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's too easy for the other side.
That's right. It's too hard to get, you know, when you have no memory, it's really hard to put together a case on what exactly happened.
Right.
Moment to moment. How did I get there though? How did I walk up this entire flight of stairs that was behind a solid metal door? There's just no way. How did I dress myself? I could not have. There's no way I could have, in a state where I have no memory about anything. I couldn't have done those things.
No.
So there are, you know, there's ways that you can catch people, but it's hard.
Yeah.
So just, you've got to be, you know, the stupid thing that I did. And again, we always want to blame ourselves when this kind of stuff happens to us. But if I could go back, what I definitely would not have done is gone anywhere in a strange place by myself. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, tennis shoes, and a ball cap. I wasn't dressed, you know, like I'm out to, you know, have fun. However, I think it's really unsafe for women to go alone to bars and have any drinks. So unfortunately, I think that's why we can't have nice things.
So that's the fix.
I don't know if there's a fix for it at all. I think, you know what I will tell you though, Maurice, I have an app that I've been working on for, I don't know, 6 years in terms of development. And it deals with this kind of stuff. And I won't say more because I would keep it to myself. But you know, it's cool, and I think it's really more for in the worst case scenario when it's worse than rape.
Well, we need more apps.
Yeah, we need lots of apps.
Create apps and things, and I think that's the way to.
It's a way to keep us safe, is what it is. It's for, you know, those of us who get it worse than rape, and it's a hard word to say, and I appreciate you saying it. It's a lot.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
State of Mind next Sunday.